How to create unshakable self-esteem in 3 steps. Something I believe that creates a beautiful and intentional life is the confidence of an individual and the mindset an individual has chosen to live through. I think that the way we view ourselves is one of the most important keys to whether we are living a fulfilled and happy life or a disempowered and confused one, for instance. So basically, we all need to maybe spend less time scrolling and comparing through Instagram and a little bit more time focusing on our own self-esteem, noticing our own self-talk and beliefs and addressing it, changing it in order to raise our self-esteem. Success always stems from what you believe you can do. You directly create your life from your thoughts. So when it comes to living your best life, your thoughts about yourself and what you're capable of and your opinions on yourself is so important. I've spoken to many individuals who don't think they can do what they desire, and when I ask them why they aren't going full steam ahead towards what they really want, I get excuses like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not experienced, I'm too old, I'm not perfect in some shape or form, and that prevents them from taking leaps and ultimately prevents them from living their truth, being happy and thriving. I don't want that for any of you. And I'm telling you now, in order to change your life, we need to start in a vulnerable place. It's a place you probably don't visit much because it brings up certain emotions that you don't want to face. This place is where your self-love and your self-worth lives, and that is ultimately what your self-esteem is. Whether you have created a self-belief on purpose or by default, it takes the exact same process. So here are my 3 steps on how to create unshakable self-esteem and rewiring what you once knew and which clearly no longer serves you. And those are: 1, how to operate from your own alignment. 2, how to clear up the misconceptions and misunderstandings within your daily self-talk. And 3, how to unapologetically be yourself. Number 1, operating from your own alignment. Operating from your own alignment means that mentally, emotionally, and physically, you are operating at your best and fullest potential. It's when what you think and what you say and how you feel and what you do are, all in alignment with what you want instead of in opposition. This brings me on to the subject of self-sabotage, which is something that knocks you out of alignment. It's where you have a rule in place or a glass ceiling that's stopping you from expanding. Self-sabotage happens when in life you see something as a problem, but in truth there is no such things as problems. Let me explain. When you think there is a problem in life, what's really going on is a misunderstanding. Things can be hidden from your view. We all have blind spots, which means most of the time you are actually trying to solve the wrong problem, hence the struggle. To break through any rule or glass ceiling you have created for yourself, you have to first become aware of what the real problem is and then make it your priority to solve it. This will take some reflection work to solve. By this I mean silent, alone time to self-question and write down the answers that arrive from this quiet space. Because most of your limitations actually come from your childhood, and that's a rabbit hole full of things for you to discover and self-realize. What will help you is to start establishing your own alignment. Instead of the one you may be living that was subconsciously created and dictated by your parents, school, and society. Understand that our parents have their own blind spots and myths about life also, and they don't quite realize that you have your own intentions and desires, and then in turn they feel like they aren't enough because they fear for their own failures and shortcomings, so they end up projecting their perception of reality onto you and then think it's their job to teach you how to be perfect, which is actually their biggest personal fear. And when you aren't perfect, they usually do what their parents did: punish you, make you feel guilty in some shape or form. So from this, you can see why in your present moments that you can still have misunderstandings about your own approval and where exactly you seek it. Since our whole lives, we have pretty much been taught to seek it externally. This also leads on to the fact that most of the time, we try to solve an inside problem with an outside solution, like when we were children. And the fact is, you can never meet enough people's approval to solve the problem, for it's the wrong problem. This all comes down to the feeling of being enough. So to live your fullest potential, you need to operate from your own alignment and beliefs and must be willing to give up that belief that someone outside of you has a greater authority than you. And you have to try and realize your beliefs and start reprogramming them, because you're self-sabotaging every time you give the rules you've created and the glass ceilings that you've created power. Number 2, clearing up the misconceptions and misunderstandings with your daily self-talk. You were born with an imagination. No one taught you that. You know how to imagine. You were born with feelings. No one taught you that. No one taught you how to feel. You were born with the ability to take action. This means you have the power to create your reality by visualizing what you want, focusing on it, and knowing why you want it and for what purpose. Then, from that set point, you do have the ability to act in alignment by having full faith in doing what you would do if you knew you were going to succeed. Here's a little self-talk paragraph you can write down to remind you daily of what you're capable of. Your imagination, your feelings, and your actions are what give you the ability to create your reality. Let this be your new way of seeing things and talking to yourself. You know, we rarely challenge our existing beliefs or the conditions that we were raised in. So I do advise you to learn how to come from your own moral framework opposed to your parents or societies or the culture you've been raised in or other people's frameworks in general. Whatever judgments and perceptions you are raised on is most of the time preventing you from living your fullest potential and feeling confident in yourself and believing you can achieve your dreams even. So those misconceptions and misunderstandings are simply stemming from ideas outside of your own higher morals that you have simply taken on throughout life. And this can affect your self-esteem massively. Because in actual fact, who knows how much negative and fearful mental or moral frameworks you were raised around. Consider yourself lucky if you were raised by happy hippies who were tapped into their higher power every day and share their beautiful and powerful frameworks with you, because I believe those individuals might have the most fulfilling lives. But if you weren't raised by happy hippies, and you know I wasn't, so don't worry, we can rewire our conditionings and ourselves whenever we want. Number 3, being unapologetically yourself. This last point is a biggie and possibly the most important one when it comes to self-esteem. Your greatest power comes from you choosing, so choose wisely. When it comes to being yourself, you need to know yourself, right? You need to know what you are and what you're not. So ask yourself these questions and really tune into them honestly to answer. Are you what others have told you that you were? AKA your conditioned beliefs. Are you what you have? So if you didn't have what you have, would you still be you? Are you your attitude? If you shifted your attitude, would you still be you? Are you your beliefs you have about yourself? Or your thoughts that you have in your head? Meaning, if you changed these thoughts, would you still be you? Are you your emotions? If your emotions changed, are you still you? So who are you? So much of who you think you are has been nothing but an attachment to an illusion, yet every decision you have made has been coming from who you think you are. But consider this, maybe who you really are is a false powerful by something way greater than any conditioned worldview. It's greater than any identity you've created, any role, any personality, and it's not even a little bit connected to any external force, which brings me onto the question, where do you place your value? We do live in a social media world where we are obsessed with validation by likes and comments, and the buzz you feel when someone hits a love heart and leaves a comment that boosts your ego. This is one of the most unhealthiest obsessions of the 21st century. I actually envy the older generation that haven't been raised to think that this external validation craving is normal, because they have a much healthier perspective and knowing of themselves. It's very evident that external validation is a massive driving force behind the depression epidemic that's going on, especially in young people. You know, teenagers shouldn't be suffering with self-esteem issues and self-worth issues. They are at the age where nothing should be too far-fetched or out of their reach, yet they are suffering with this lack of self-worth and knowing, because their attention is focused in the completely wrong place. And there is so much pressure for them to be something else or someone else instead of actually exploring and embracing who they truly are. Understand that when your value is connected to attention and how others see you and what they think about you, this is such an insecure place to live. You completely lose a sense of control and being in power, because how you dress, what you do, and how you think is coming from a desire to be validated by your externals. And disappointment and lack of confidence hits when this may not happen. Your self-esteem is going to take a right dip if you continue this pattern and belief. So maybe you can start by taking social media breaks to help with this. And read more, and don't allow yourself to get sucked into superficial media sources, you know, be it the TV series you choose to watch or the accounts you choose to follow. Make changes to your routine if that helps, and acknowledge how you feel when you're posing for validation and how you feel when you get attention and lack of attention. Notice it and ask yourself the question, why do I feel like this? Because you are good enough exactly how you are, and just imagine how much confidence you would have if you spent less time on getting external attention and more time on expanding yourself, becoming more intelligent and learning new things, having new hobbies, traveling, more of whatever you choose. My last point is about the relationship you have with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is going to be the key to finding a solid confidence and to establish your self-worth. The second key is to consciously decide you are capable of being with any situation. It doesn't matter if you don't know how, just understanding that it is your decision and that you are capable, and trusting in your ability to do so. We need to work on releasing all past judgments as well, and feelings and attachments and anything you have connected from the past to free yourself from the mind prison that you've been living in. I know that people connect vulnerability with weakness, right? But finding your vulnerability is essential to freeing yourself. We all have pasts where people would tell us what's right and what's wrong, what's smart, what's not, what's brave and what's cowardly. But ridding yourself of all those conditioned beliefs that are stuck there from our childhood and preventing us from making our own choices and beliefs and understandings is necessary. This all links up to where exactly we seek our security. It is through attention, or is it through exploring a deeper sense of ourselves? The world is safe to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to decide to be bold and self-trusting. And from this new behavior and new feeling, who will you become? Well, for starters, you will realize how capable you actually are, and you will start to see the world and people for who they truly are, i.e., on their own journey, acting and behaving to the level of consciousness they know, which means they are doing their best, so we can't judge. All you can do for yourself is just find that greater awareness and consciousness to act better, know better, and do better. And that is the journey you will embark on with me. The power comes from inside of you. So, for you to live through confidence and happiness and fulfillment, it takes a dig up of all the old and a reshuffle and a rewire and finally a transition into a new way of thinking and a new way of seeing. Number